We'll cover very briefly what is PlayPosit, what is a bulb. We'll talk about what Easter eggs are, what does that term mean, and then we will review a sample bulb that was built with some Easter egg features embedded. We'll spend the majority of our time, I will spend the majority of our time in the PlayPosit Designer itself in a workshop portion where I will show you how to build some of these Easter eggs. We will translate the concept of Easter eggs to the advanced interaction features that make all of these components possible. So what is an Easter egg? So this terminology comes from the media field. Basically, it started in movies in the 70s and 80s about a hidden feature that people who created media content put in their films or other media as a hidden feature. Here at PlayPosit, we're going to use the term Easter egg as an interaction or a feature within your bulb that is meant to surprise the students, encourage curiosity, choice, and chance. And so we'll be taking a look at how you can build these elements of surprise and hidden engagement for your students by manipulating some of the advanced features of our interactions. I thought it would be good for us to review a demo of a bulb that has an Easter egg or many Easter eggs embedded throughout it. So this is a sample bulb, and I will call out the Easter eggs as they appear. But basically, when we get to the workshop portion of today's session, we will be reverse constructing the features that we see here. This is a quick 2-minute video, and you will see a few Easter eggs pop up. I am going to actually reshare my screen just to ensure that I am sharing the audio so that you all can hear the full experience. Okay. I can see that there's no audio, so I'm going to try to adjust my settings one more time and see if we can get this right.
Which also honor Zeus. And there is the Ishmael game near Corinth, which also honor Poseidon, god of the sea, as well as the Pythian games at Delphi in honor of Apollo. All of these games are held at different times over a 4-year period. This is known as the Pythalenic cycle. The Olympic Games are held in the summertime and arranged so that on the 3rd night there is a full moon to light up the celebrations held that night.
So I'm going to back it up one more time so that we can review some of these features and make sure we convey the purpose of them before we move on to the workshop. So there were a few Easter egg type experiences here, and the first one that appeared was a self-check poll. So you'll notice that the video never stopped playing. So one feature of this experience is that the students can opt in or opt out of these engagement experiences. And there's something about content popping up and disappearing that may encourage students to be a little more proactive in their watching of the bulb. And in this example, it's not a multiple choice question that pops up, but rather a poll. It's placed on top of the video. It's optional. It's not necessarily worth any points, and I've called it a secret self-check. So it feels like a personal little check for the students that allows them to check their knowledge, their metacognition before they progress. The cool part about it, of course, is all the data that instructors can get if students choose to engage with it. I've paused the video here in the replaying of this, but this wouldn't pause for students.
Hello, I'm Georgios. I used to train athletes, but now I help organize the games here at Olympia. Do you know how our games began?
So the next Easter egg that popped up is really just this very subtle audio recorder that popped up. This is a great way for instructors to insert themselves within third-party content. Again, I pause the video, but it doesn't necessarily have to pause for students unless they engage with it. And here they'll be able to hear from me, their instructor, adding additional flavor to the content.
I started a long time ago.
Olympia is a small town on the peninsula in Greece, and it is famous for the nearby archaeological site of the same name.
Oh, in 776 BC.
So students can opt in or opt out of that audio recording, and there's no data gathered for the instructor about whether or not they listen, but it is a fun way to insert yourself within the lesson.
The games, known as the Olympics, get their name from the village here called Olympia, which is about 300 miles southwest of Mount Olympus, where all the gods live. The game started as a religious festival held in the honor of the god Zeus. There are other games too, like the Nemean
So you
game held in the...
You can see me inserting myself visually for my students. So here I've actually grabbed a quick snapshot of my face with a little comment mark, and I paused the video again, but for students, it wouldn't pause. It would just appear as this transparent overlay on top of the video, reminding the students that this is a key point that will be on the test. And I'm actually going to show you how you can save this as a template. So when you want to add a test clue, it's quick and easy to apply. We see the learner in this example realizing that this is an important topic and taking notes for their benefit.
Nemea, which also honor Zeus. Then there are the Isthmian games near Corinth, which are to honor Poseidon, god of the sea, as well as the Pythian games at Delphi in honor of Apollo. All of these games are held at different times over a 4-year period. This is known as the Parthenic cycle.
So this is a poll interaction here that utilizes the feedback fields in an engaging way. So when students review these topics, if they self-select any of these topics as not knowing anything about it and they want a quick reminder, again, this could be something that's worth no points and be completely optional. Students will
held in the summertime.
Be delivered with images or additional resources. And so this allows them to not be punished in not knowing, recognize that they don't know something, give them the opportunity to build their background knowledge and be successful in the lesson. Again, completely optional.
And arranged so that on the third night, there is a full moon to light up the celebrations held that night.
So this last one was completely hidden. So I have a very hidden engagement opportunity that I'll show you here. And it's basically a hidden hotspot that's worth points that I've used as a participation point. So if you have trouble with learners watching their lessons all the way to the end, you could use some features of PlayPosit to encourage engagement by sprinkling some participation points that are hidden throughout the video. And I'll show you how to do that now. So that's a demonstration of a bulb that is filled with Easter eggs. And now we're going to put it in PlayPosit language. Basically, these features capitalized on adjusting placement and transparency, using durational interactions to adjust the start time and the end time of when those interactions appeared, and configuring whether or not they pause the video, require engagement or not. All of these features are hidden under a little advanced tab when you build interactions. So if you haven't explored those advanced features, this is a great use case to do so. The last feature I'm going to show you that relates to the Easter eggs is the idea of adjusting point values. So by default, many interactions in PlayPosit do allow the learners to earn points, but I want you to consider the idea of maybe disabling points or enabling them in an unpredictable way throughout your bulb so that your learners are encouraged to engage with all of the content without knowing which ones will earn them the points, but then they will be encouraged to actually answer more of the questions because they're unsure, that curiosity. Lastly, I will show you one of our brand new features, which is one of my favorite, the ability to build templates. So if you liked that idea of a test clue or a test hint, but it's burdensome to build it out every single time from scratch, I am going to show you how to do that. So at this point, I'm going to transition away from this presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and move into the designer to show you how to build interactions with these features. So like I mentioned at the beginning, this is not a session intended for beginning users. If you have specific questions about how to get to your PlayPosit account, please put that question in the chat and one of my colleagues will provide you with the resources. This is really going to focus in on adjusting some of these advanced features that you may not have previously explored. So I'm excited to show you how to build some Easter eggs. Any questions or comments right now as we transition over to the PlayPosit designer? Okay, so I'm in the PlayPosit Bulb Designer. Everybody has a slightly different workflow about how they get to this screen, but once you either go through your learning management system or through playposit.com, you have to first choose a video. So for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to choose one of my favorite video sources, Crash Course on YouTube, and I will use that as the background for building out my Easter eggs. So many of the Easter eggs really utilized the pause interaction and the rich text editor here. So the first Easter egg I'm going to build for you is going to be that test clue interaction. So as typical when you're building interactions, you'll just scrub the scrub bar to the timestamp where you want that interaction to appear and select add an interaction. And here I'm going to choose pause. So this example is actually going to bring together a few of the components that we saw. We will use that rich text editor to add an image. I've already previously created this test clue image and placed it on my desktop. So you would have an image in mind that you're going to use as a test hint reminder. There I am here, and I am going to size it just a little bit differently here. And one thing that you may not have explored, which is very important for these Easter eggs, is the idea of required engagement and interactions that pause the video playback. So when it comes to required, this means the students must engage with some sort of click to resume video playback. So with a multiple choice interaction, students must answer it when it's required. In the case of a pause interaction, in the case of pausing the video playback, if I were to deselect required and just keep that interaction paused, that just means it stops the video, gives the students a chance to absorb the information shared there, but doesn't require the student to answer the question if it's a question type interaction. In this example, I'm actually going to disable both of them. So be careful here though, because if you disable required and pause, then the interaction won't be visible to students unless you adjust the duration. So back in my beginning example, you saw that I had pop-ups that would appear at a certain timestamp and disappear at another timestamp. So to configure that durational experience that we saw with the test clues and the audio clips, you would do that by selecting timing. So here in this menu option, I'm going to select timing. By default, it's just reflecting that timestamp where I was in the designer, but under advanced, I'll be able to extend that duration. So I'm going to do it for about 20 seconds. So now I know that this image will appear for the learners and then disappear after 20 seconds. The other advanced configuration I wanted to show you for this one is that it is going to appear on top of the video. The default for most assessment type bulbs is that instructors like their content in the sidebar, but a lot of these Easter eggs I've placed over the video content because it's just a little more embedded and fun that way. So I'm going to put my test hint here on the right-hand side. That is a little bit obtrusive. It's covering up the speaker's face and not really meant to be as subtle as I hoped. So here's where we'll play around with those advanced settings again. You may not have seen these in your prior experiences with PlayPosit, but you can customize the width of these hotspots. So I can make that width a little more narrow, and then I can move it over to the side as needed. It's still a little bit obtrusive there with the white background, but I can adjust that transparency so that it is more subtle or completely remove that background look as well. So I'm just going to adjust it to 25%. The other two options that we see here, I just want to explain. These are controls for the students. So if I leave expandable and collapsible enabled, then the students are able to make that hotspot larger or completely remove it from their screen. I'm just going to turn it off here. So now, just to recap, we use the pause interaction to upload an image. We made it not required. It does not pause the video. It's going to appear for a duration of time, and it's going to be placed over the video. So that is our first Easter egg. If you like this idea of creating test hints like this, or you're going to frequently utilize a certain type of Easter eggs in your bulbs, I want to show you a new feature. In this drop-down menu, you'll see I have an option here that says Save as Template. This allows me as an instructor to save an interaction and reuse it quite easily in future bulbs, so I don't have to build this all from scratch. Additionally, if I were an admin of the PlayPosit license, you can actually save templates like this for other people to use. Most people at this webinar are instructors, so you'll only be able to save the template for your own use. But once I've built this and I like this, I can select Save as Template, give it a name, and then I can adjust the privacy of those templates. So most instructors will only be able to keep that private. If you happen to have admin access, you can make a template for other people. So now I've created this template. So let's say I want to put another test reminder later in the bulb. I can just scrub to the timestamp where I'm going to have that clue pop up, press Add Interaction, and now instead of building this from scratch, I'm going to head to My Interactions. My Interactions is also a relatively new feature to the PlayPosit Designer that is storing in real time all of the interactions that you're building. Here's that pause interaction I just built. I could reuse it from there, but this is in chronological order of all the interactions that I build. So if I had a test clue that I built out 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't necessarily see it in my interactions. But under filter, that's where you access your templates. And remember, the handout that I give you after today's session will have all of these directions. So I'm going to filter by my templates. You'll see here, this is that test clue that I just created with you all. Here's another one that I created yesterday when I was practicing. But I'm going to select this test clue. We'll be able to preview it here. Yes, that's the one I want. And I'm going to add it. So it's going to add it at this new timestamp. So it keeps all of those advanced settings and configurations that I set previously. Really saves a lot of time. You can see here under advanced, I don't have to touch anything. The only thing I need to adjust here is the timing. That is the one feature that cannot be held on to in the templates. So I'll just add this one, an additional 10 seconds for my students. Okay, so we've talked about a couple of features of Easter eggs here. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 more ideas, but please, oh, okay, how do you make the text in that image accessible? Oh, Jason's answering the questions, thank you. All right, and I'm going to show you a couple of other ideas. So I'm going to move back in the bulb here and add a voice recording. So for add interaction, again, I'm going to choose my pause interaction. Since I work here at PlayPosit, people often ask me what my favorite interaction type is, and people are pretty disappointed when I say it's the pause because it doesn't seem that fun. But actually, I do a lot of fun things with the pause. So I'm going to just access the audio recorder here this time. So this is a feature that's available for all interaction types. But here in the pause, I'm just going to use it to insert myself into the third-party video here so that students can hear from me. Hey students, I really hope you're enjoying this lesson. Be sure to take note of how the molecules are linked together with those chemical bonds. After I recorded, I just press this check mark and it appears here in that interaction. The configuration for adding this audio clip is very similar to what we saw with the image. I would decide on whether or not I want students to be required to engage with it and whether or not it pauses the video. Under the theme of like curiosity and optional engagement, I can keep those unselected. And then I'll adjust that placement and I can change that transparency again. Lastly, to ensure that students have time to see this audio clip and engage with it, I will adjust that timing. I saw a question up here in the chat about a previous interaction about accessibility. So I did want to mention if you are wanting to provide captions for this audio recorded, you would need to do that manually. So one way I've seen instructors do that is upload a file that has a script attached there, or hyperlink to a Google Doc using the web link functionality so that students can access the content that way. So I could demonstrate that here. Oh, I lost my cursor. By uploading, attaching a file. I don't necessarily have one here, but I'll just add this PDF. So that way the student would be able to access the content shared on demand that way as well. The next interaction Easter egg type I'm going to show you, and to answer the question in the chat, I will be providing the handout. It's in the certificate at the end of today's session, is using a poll interaction, making it optional, and then delivering some feedback in different forms based on how the learners engage with that poll. So I'm going to move on here through the designer and add an interaction. I love polls because students don't feel like it's right or wrong, but they can engage with it. So here I can ask them a question. And then give them some options. So yes, another video, or yes, an image, or yes, an article, or no. So here students will be prompted to consider if they want more information and the format that they want to receive it. Under advanced, again, you can decide if it's required or it pauses. And if it's a poll and maybe students want an article and a video, you can also allow them to select multiple answers. So in my demo, you saw that there was a hyperlink to a website and an image. So basically how this is set up, when they choose one of these options, they'll receive the custom feedback that goes with that option. So if they want another video, I can always go to YouTube and grab a video. So I'm doing that now. And show you how you can put a video right within the feedback. Just 1 second. I'm grabbing the embed code of this video from YouTube, and I'm going to head back to this feedback here and select insert, source code. I know this is a little advanced, but it could be worth it. And now when the student chooses that option, they'll get to watch an entirely additional video. For images here, just like the other ones, you could upload an image with the rich text editor. So you would have an image or graph of DNA saved to your computer, and you could just browse and upload that. I don't think I have an image here of DNA, but I think I have a piece of pizza. So I'll put that in there. And then an article, you can provide students articles on demand as well. You could attach a file, or you could insert a hyperlink to another website. And that will open in a new window for the learners. So something to additionally consider about these interactions is adding various point values. So I talked to you about maybe adjusting point values for some or not all of the interactions in the experience to encourage students to engage more or watch all the way to the end. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how you do that. So here, if I have a couple of test clues and I want one to give the students a point if it appears on their screen, but the other one not to have a point, just to, you know, surprise them with their engagement. Or perhaps I want to put a few poll interactions where they earn a point when they answer the question sometimes, but not always. You can adjust those point values here from this triple dot menu here. So that's a great way to encourage engagement, reward those who engage. Or if you want this all to be completely optional for students, you can, of course, reduce those point values. So I see we are at time here, so I'm going to head back to my presentation. Today we have discussed the following features of PlayPosit that lend themselves well to Easter eggs: placement and transparency, start times and end times of those interactions, the idea of pausing playback and engagement, point values, and then I showed you how to scale your impact and use that template designer. I see that we have a few questions here in the chat, so we are at time, but we are going to document these questions and we can follow up over email with additional support. I am going to place our certificate link in the chat. So when you receive the certificate link, you will have to input your first and last name. You'll hear a message from Ryan, and then after you watch this 15-second video, you'll be able to print that certificate. So that is coming right up. I will also place the handout link in the chat. This handout link is also on the certificate. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks for coming. So I'll just walk you through a little bit of this handout. Here we have that sample bulb I showed you at the very beginning. If you want to take it as a learner, this is a great opportunity to experience it yourself. Background information, if you're brand new to PlayPosit, this will get you there. And here's knowledge-based articles that point to all of the features that we discussed. If you liked today's session, please explore our partners-only resources and join our office hours. Thank you for attending our summer camp session today. They will resume in July. Please look for the recording. Thanks, Diana, in your inbox. I'll be sending that out shortly as well.